So what I did was I created the value. Now what Yarrow brought was the leverage of that value, and you need both. So Yarrow already had about 20,000 people on his email database, but additionally, he also had some amazing relationships with other people in the industry who also had big audiences. So when it came to launch, not only did Yarrow promote out to his own database, he also had a very successful blog at the time with getting lots of traffic. So he published on the blog about the launch, but he also invited all his friends to promote for this launch. So, that leveraged the value that I created tremendously that I could not have done on my own. Like there was zero chance for me to do that at that point. So I brought the value and then he leveraged the value. And those two things work together really, really well. And if I look at any of the successes I've had, it's been a combination of those things where there's been some tremendous value being built and then being able to leverage it with getting it out there to the world. And it's really as simple as that. Like at the big picture level, there's actually another component, energy, before that. So you need the energy to create the value. Once you got the value, you can leverage that and boom, that's the secret recipe, for creating any kind of wealth from where I stand. The steps are actually quite simple, but it's quite laborious. The work is quite laborious, but when you do the work, there's this massive payoffs. But and JB, my friend, so if you check out his channel, that's Primal Videos, his company's name. Mm-hmm. So and I recommend you go through his training because he teaches you how to do this now properly. But basically, there's 2 or 3 steps. The first step is to go onto YouTube and look in the search bar for what people are searching for right now. And you can type in your base keywords. So say, for example, get more views. You can type that in and then see what other things YouTube recommends. And those are the things that people are actually searching for right now. So boom, YouTube gives you the answer that tells you what people are searching for. Mm-hmm. And there's a cool little extension that you can install on Chrome called, what's it called? Keyword. Let me just check it. Keywords Everywhere. It provides you with the actual search volume of those keywords as well. So not only can you see what people are searching for, you can then also see how many searches there are per month for that particular keyword phrase. So you can then go, okay, this one is getting more views than this one, so I'm going to target this one with the more views. So that's a huge tip. Once you found that main keyword phrase you want to rank for, you basically use that in a few places. You use it in your title right at the beginning. You use it at the beginning of your description. So you don't keyword stuff, but you use it in a paragraph, right? So you use that keyword phrase right at the beginning, and you use it as your first tag in your tags as well. And then you have other related tags to that as well that you also find using the same method, but they're related to that first keyword tag, keyword phrase. And then additionally, and this is like a magical tip that JB talks about, where you can also, at the beginning, in the first couple of sentences of your video, actually say that exact phrase as well, because YouTube picks up on that. YouTube transcribes your video automatically, right? So then you're giving it all the signals it needs. It's in the title, it's in the description, it's in the tags, it's even inside the video. A great childhood. I mean, I grew up in South Africa. This was I was born in 1977. So I was there before the. All right. Okay. So I was there before the changeover in government, and so I think what happened with our situations, the area we grew up in was very protected, and so we didn't see a lot of the stuff that was going on in the rest of the country, and so I guess as a result of that, I had a pretty good childhood. My parents. Both hardworking people. My dad, he's a retired doctor now, so he was a doctor back then. He worked incredibly hard, and Mum supported him. And we're 4 boys now growing up together, and we always had food on the table. And it was important for my parents. They drilled this into us that during the time is when it's a time that we were able to communicate and discuss things and be together, and it's the only time we had during the day. The rest of the day was just so busy. Dad was either at work or, he was a general practitioner, but he was always on call, 24/7, the way it was back then. And so he would do all sorts of things. He would go and, as we used to call it, catch babies, or deliver babies. And it happened, crazy, like 3 or 4 times a week. In the middle of the night, he'd have to go out, and he'd be out for 2 or 3 hours and then come back, and then full day work the next day,
Wow.
So the dinner times were important for us, and it was important that it was peaceful. My dad wanted that because he, had a pretty stressful job. And, my mom was very keen on our manners, making sure that we had good manners, good table manners especially, but also good manners in general. So that's a big thing for our family.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Did you have any businesses that you started when you were growing up? A lot of our guests sort of started their
No.
entrepreneurial journey early.
No, I think, I've often thought back to that and thought, why didn't I start something much earlier? What was wrong with me in a way? And the closest I got was doing something together with my brother, but he was really the entrepreneur. So I always thought he would become the entrepreneur. We were about, I think I was maybe nine years old, and he would have been 11 or 9, 10, 12. Let's say 12. He was 12, year and a half older than me, 2.5 years older. And so he figured out that he could get, it was just before the Olympic Games in Barcelona. So he figured out from somewhere that he could get these printed T-shirts, and then he could sell them. So he roped me in to help sell these T-shirts, like hundreds of them. And so we got a table from my mum, like those fold-up sort of tables, and we took it into the central city area where there were a lot of foot traffic, and we just packed these T-shirts up on the table and started selling them, and they sold. We sold all of them. It was great. So I guess learned a little bit about sales back then, but it wasn't me that started the enterprise. But it was always my brother, and I always thought he would be the one to become an entrepreneur in the family. And out of all 4 brothers, I'm the only one who ended up becoming an entrepreneur. But I only became an entrepreneur officially when I turned 28.
Okay.
I was, so I went through the whole education system, right? And I think, in a way, if I could lay blame, not that it really matters, but if I could point fingers, it would be towards, I guess, the education system that molded me in a certain way. I definitely got molded and influenced in a certain way, to think in a certain way, to act in a certain way. And I guess I wasn't strong enough necessarily to go out of that mold, and so I ended up going through school, I think 12 or 13 years of school, right? Depending which country you're in. I think I think it's 12 years 12 years in South Africa. And then we immigrated when I was 16 to New Zealand, and then I did the last 2 years of school there. Then I had a year off after school, and then I went to do study engineering, electronic engineering, for 4 years, and that was absolute hell. And then I thought, there's no way I want to be an engineer. So even though I did well and succeeded and everything, passed, I thought, I'm going to do something else. So I thought, okay, well, I don't want to waste the last 4 years. Let's do something that's kind of related. So I did an engineering management degree, which was a master in engineering management. And that was pretty cool. I quite enjoyed that. And then I went to the project management and then later business development. And I guess as I went through the system, the more and more I stayed in it, and then I think when the rubber really started hitting the road was when I started working. I realized, hey, hang on, this is not what I thought I was going to get, from all the promises in inverted commas that were made to me. Like, get good qualification, and then you get a good job, and then you get paid lots, and then, you're happy for the rest of your life. And instead I found that while I did get a good job in relative terms, it wasn't something that I necessarily enjoyed. It felt like a jail to me. I couldn't live out my creativity. There were always struggles with other people, and the politics and the bigger companies, especially. Even in smaller companies, always politics, and I just hated that. And I wasn't earning very much. My income was really limited, So none of those sort of dreams that I had about being happy and being creative and making a living came true from the education system. And it might sound like that I'm a bit harsh on the education system, but I think what I'm trying to say here is that for me, it didn't necessarily provide me with what I needed. I think if I could go back, I would have started the business a lot earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But in saying that, I do believe in the education system. I think it is a really good thing because I think we need people to become educated, right? Because as an entrepreneur, there's only one entrepreneur in my business.
Yeah.
Everyone else are employees.
Yep,
So
exactly.
I don't want to hire entrepreneurs, for my business. So I need, entrepreneurs need people who can actually do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really, really important. And you need a good education system for that. So while I'm sort of negative towards it for myself,
Mm-hmm.
I think for, this is a valid place for it in society for sure. There's no doubt about that. So yeah, but that's I guess been the journey. I was 28, yeah. So when I became an entrepreneur and just told my wife, look, this sucks. This is back in New Zealand. Let's quit our jobs and immigrate to Australia and just start afresh,
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have a clue about business. I had zero idea, and but that was the beginning. That was the beginning for me.
That's great. So what was it that you saw when you were 28? What did you jump into? What was your first business? What spawned it? What inspired you to get into what you got into?
Yeah, I really had no idea. I mean, so when we so what happened was I told my wife, said, look, let's start applying for jobs. I'll start applying for jobs in Australia to just to give us a ticket to get in, right? And then we'll figure it out once we get there.
Mm-hmm.
So for 3 months, I was applying for jobs, and I didn't get any positive responses. Like everyone those who did send me back a response was just like, sorry, we're busy, or we don't think we can use you in our company. So got quite deflated. And then one day she said, look, this is not working. Maybe you should try applying for jobs. Because she had a good job. We didn't want to, it was like we sort of looking at different options. But then, she started applying for jobs in Australia. Within a week, she had 3 job
Wow.
offers. And then, she took one of them a month later. We were in Australia. And so then I was sitting there without a job. I was jobless, but my wife had a job, which is great, and she was paying the bills. That gave me time to sort of figure out this entrepreneur thing. And so I thought, okay, well, I've got freedom now. What am I going to do? What business am I going to start? And so I was looking for ideas, and I remember going to this franchise expo in Brisbane, Australia, and there were all sorts of businesses there. And I remember walking past a dog washing franchise business that they were advertising there at the expo. And I was looking at it and going, wow, this is crazy. If these guys are able to have not just a dog washing business, but a franchise for a dog washing business, surely if they can pull it off, I can do something similar. How hard can it be? So, I laugh now looking back, thinking that it was going to be easy. But so that sort of gave me encouragement, and so I thought, okay, well, I can basically, if they can do that, I can do this too. I ended up there was I was on a email subscription with my first mentor. I didn't realize it was going to be my first mentor, but he ran a course that taught us how to write a book
Mm-hmm.
as an ebook, and then to sell it online.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. I can do that from home, and I'm good with writing. I write a thesis paper of my master's degree. I did lots of typing, during my engineering days. Surely I could write something, and so I wrote a book in the personal development space, and set up the sales process for it. And then my mentor, Yuho Tankelo, if you're listening, he promoted that for me. He had about 10,000 people on his database, and it went gangbusters. So even we got lots of sales overnight. Like it was kind of really, really exciting to think that I could just sell these digital goods. This was back in 2006 or something, for and then get paid for it. Huge profit margins. And that was great. That was like a fantastic beginning for me to get started with. But then it started getting a bit rough. So I'm not sure if you want to get into that, but that was like
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah.
What were some of the challenges that you had at that point?
Well, what happened next was interesting, because I had this rosy picture of being an entrepreneur. Then I thought, oh, well, I just have to write these little books and then sell them, and I can make millions or whatever, from the comfort of my own living room. And which had some truth to it, but what I didn't know was anything about real business. And so from the first promotion, I got a lot of traffic, but then I had zero traffic after that. So I didn't know how to drive traffic to my little one-page website that's selling this book. I didn't realize that it's not really possible to have a full-on successful real business just on one ebook, and so ran out of traffic, ran out of sales, and then I didn't have a clue about anything. So and then the money dried up as well, of course. And then it basically took me another 2 years. So that first bit was about a 6-month journey, and then it took me another 2 years to figure out the game properly before I had my first success. And I remember just before that first success, we got to a pretty big low where I was making nothing. We're making nothing. Like, we're making a little bit, but we're spending more. Like, I think we made maybe 10,000 for the year and spent 11,000 or something stupid like that. So my wife was paying all the bills with her salary, living costs and food. We didn't go out anywhere. We actually lived on top of a train station, which was handy because we could take the train everywhere. But it was very noisy. Got woken up every single night, a couple of times. As soon as a diesel train would come through, like, we'd wake up. It was a nice apartment, but it was, it was noisy. We walked everywhere. We were really fit. The closest grocery store was a half an hour walk from us. So every couple of days we would, walk with the groceries in our hands. And it was pretty tough then because, we were thinking, we had these dreams of become entrepreneurs and have our own business and having some sort of success. And here we were sitting there and like no money really left over after, the expenses were paid. And not really having a lot of freedom, so I remember having this discussion with my wife saying, this is not working out. I need to find a job, or we need to go back to New Zealand or something. This is just not working. And I was like this close to giving up. Luckily, leading up to that time, what I was doing, I started interviewing people very similar to what you're doing now, on how they became successful with their businesses online. And so I got a lot of information and ideas and stuff from them, built some really good contacts. And I was ultimately going to sell this as a membership site, but that thing fell over because it was way too hard back then. But one of the people I interviewed was a friend of mine. We became friends. Yaro Starrick's his name, and he was in the blogging industry. So I became really good with video stuff. I decided to interview him. I did it with a green screen background, etc. He noticed I was good with video. And then he asked me to do a project together called Become a Blogger. So I created an initial set of 10 videos that we then released for free. I got downloaded 300,000 times over a 6-month period. And then we launched a membership site, a training membership site on the back of that, teaching people how to set up their blogs and use their blogs for growing their businesses. And within 2 weeks of launch, we had 10,000 people on our email database. Wow. And then within a month, we had our revenue, recurring revenue was about $23,000 coming in per month. And going from like zero pretty much to 23K a month for that business was amazing because that was my first real success. And then I just kept on building it from project after project. And every single project I did from that point onwards was in the video space. Even now, the latest project I have, or business that I have, is all in the video space. And so I kind of fell in love with the video thing.
Yeah. So what would you say you would attribute that success to? Because that happened very, very quickly. What would you was it basically the relationship that you built with with your friend there? Would you say that was probably the biggest influence to that success?
Yeah, I think it was the realization that you need help. You can't do everything on your own, and that's one realization. The other realization, which then relates to building relationships, right?
Hmm.
The other realization was that it's important to hone in on your strengths and then to team up with other people who have other strengths that can complement you. So, with me and Yarrow, what was really good was that I was really, really good at creating value and products, like I did everything. Like I did the videos, I did the graphics, I coded the website in HTML as well. So I did even that too. I created the emails and the email autoresponder. I did the customer support. So so I did all of that.
Hmm.
And Yarrow, he brought so that's sorry. So what I did was I created the value. Now
Hmm.
what Yarrow brought was the leverage of that value, and you need both. So Yarrow already had about 20,000 people on his email database, but additionally, he also had some amazing relationships with other people in the industry who also had big audiences. So when it came to launch, not only did Yarrow promote out to his own database, he also had a very successful blog at the time, with getting lots of traffic. So he published on the blog about the launch, but he also invited all his friends to promote for this launch. So that leveraged the value that I created tremendously, that I could not have done on my own. Like there was zero chance for me to do that at that point. So I brought the value, and then he leveraged the value, and those two things work together really, really well. And if I look at any of the successes I've had, it's been a combination of those things, where there's been some tremendous value being built, and then being able to leverage it with getting it out there to the world. And it's really as simple as that. Like at the big picture level, there's actually another component, energy, before that. So you need the energy to create the value. Once you got the value, you can leverage that, and boom, that's the secret recipe, for creating any kind of wealth from where I stand.
Excellent, excellent. Love it. So was your next step then Splasheo? Did you create
No,
that next? Oh, no, you didn't.
no,
Oh,
no. Splasheo only came quite a few projects later. So
okay.
become a blogger was my first big success. Then I wanted to test out YouTube, because at that point YouTube's only about a year old, and I thought, hey, this looks cool. And so I did a project with a friend of mine in the magic niche. In Brisbane, so he was a magician. He would do the magic, and then I would do the video marketing. So we'd pop it all onto YouTube, and I wanted to see whether we could build an audience. And because I wanted, with the Become a Blogger project, it was cool that I created the value, but I felt kind of lacking in the audience building side and
Hmm.
the leverage side. So I wanted to prove to myself that I could build an audience on a place like YouTube. So because I loved video, so I did this project with JJ, the magician, and managed to really get a lot of traction from it. We got our email database. I can't remember now if it was 6 months or a year. It doesn't matter too much. But I remember we had it to about 50,000 people at one point. It would have been in less than a year, and that was awesome. So it meant we'd actually launch something, and that channel went on to go bananas. Last time I checked, it had over 400,000 subscribers on it. It became the world's number one free magic channel. I'm not sure if it still is, because I left the business after about a year.
Hmm.
Um, but it was really cool, because I could prove to myself that, hey, we could build audience using YouTube and using video. So that was really exciting. And then I thought, okay, well, let's teach people about this now. Now I know the value, how to create value, and I know how to build an audience, at least with YouTube and video. Let's teach people about this. And so I created a product called Rapid Video Blogging. I launched that in 2010, and then at about the same time when I launched, our first daughter was born, and then that changed me, because I thought, hey, it's great having a business like this that's leverageable, it's high profit, etc. The only trouble was that it was 100% dependent on me and my brain.
Hmm.
And I thought, hey, this is not very sustainable, or it's very vulnerable. If something happens to me, then what happens to the income for our family? So I thought, okay, well, what's a better way? So I thought, okay, well, if I could create a brand that can run independently of me, and where the value can get created, the value and the leverage can get created independently of me eventually, then wouldn't that be a better way? So that's when I started the first version of Splasheo. So that's probably 2012 when I did that. And that's the beginning of Splasheo. But then I worked on Splasheo for about a year, and then I wanted to automate for Splasheo, we created these little logo animations for people and basically short video clips for people, and we did everything manually. And then I thought, hey, we could automate all this stuff, and so I wanted to find a development team to help us automate it. And I did eventually. I found a team in Singapore and a couple of co-founders in Singapore. But then we agreed that it would be better to create a new brand and to focus in on, video ads specifically. So created a company called Vero that basically automated the video production for video ads. And we were either the first or one of the first to do that, where we automated the video production for video ads specifically. And it was a pretty cool little business. We got to our first million within 14 months, completely bootstrapped, starting from scratch. We didn't have any outside investment, but it was tough. It was a really tough for me. There was a lot of stress in that business. So I did that for about 4 or 5 years, and then exited that business. And then I came back to Splasheo. Splasheo was just sitting there in the background, quietly gaining like 80,000 subscribers. I have no idea how, but
Wow.
It was just sitting there. I didn't touch it. But then when I came back, I pivoted the business completely. So for all intents and purposes, the current version of Splasheo right now is like a brand new business. Well, it's about 1.5 years old now. Yeah.
So you had years where Splasheo was essentially dormant, but it kept on building up, followers and subscribers and all of that. Were you able to use what we'll call your list as an asset? Were you able to use those assets, or was it pretty well, were people basically dead, those connections?
Yeah, the list was dead. Well, 2 reasons, I think. One was because we didn't nurture people on the list at all. We didn't stay in touch with people. So people would subscribe and then that's it. They wouldn't hear back from us. So that was one problem. The other one is, the list just got old. But a third issue was that it was, people signed up for a different reason to what we're offering now. So because now we're helping people with captioning their videos, right? So, and formatting it for social media so they can get more engagement, more views, and more exposure, right? And so it's a very different offer to what we had with like little logo animations and stuff like that. So the list was not very targeted at all to what we're doing now. So we did actually ran a promotion to that list when we pivoted. I think, and this is what is so crazy to me. We had about 150,000 people on the total database at that point, which included some other lists that I had as well. I ran a promotion for a webinar, and had a terrible turnout, and we sold one account.
Nice.
and I was quite despondent because I thought, is this now a bad idea for the business? Is it because the business is a bad idea? Or is it because the list is dead? What's going on here? I ended up concluding that actually the list was dead because, especially from the growth we've had in Splasheo now, it's clear that there's a demand for this, and that we're creating something that our clients really love, and there's a real business there. So
yeah. Talk a little bit about what Splasheo does today.
Right. So the core of it is that, about 85% of people, according to Facebook, watch their videos on silent, right? When they're scrolling through their feed. And so the only real way to engage someone when they're watching a video on silent, and for them to know what the video is about, is to have captions in your video. So a while back, a friend of mine asked, "Hey, Gideon, he's got an agency." He said some of his clients wants to caption their videos. Do you know how to do it? So I said, okay, let me look into it. I looked into it, and it's like, oh, this is terrible. This is a really, really painful process. And so I thought, okay, well, there's got to be a better way. Ultimately, there was no better way. There's software that you can use that's dedicated for captioning, but it's still a pain. The biggest pain is getting the captions right and making sure that they're really readable, so that when people watch your video and they read the captions, that it actually engages them instead of turning them off. There's a bit of an art and science to getting that right. And at the moment, we found that you can only really do that with human beings. There's automated software out there, but it doesn't do a great job. You still have to spend a lot of time if you really want to make it create an engaging video. But anyway, I saw this opportunity for helping people with adding captions to their videos, but then also formatting into the right sort of aspect ratios, and adding a headline to your video and that sort of thing. All these things helping to get you more engagement and more views and more interaction from your viewers, ultimately building your audience, right? So that you can have a bigger following and have a lot of leverage there. Like that's the leverage function, helping people build that. So yeah, we said, let's do that. Let's build a team around this and do it manually so that our clients can get a really, really good quality video back with really good quality captions burnt in. And we do it within 24 hours. So people send us their little video clip, and then we've got 4 people that touch every single video coming through the business. The first person does the transcription. The second person does a review of the transcription to make sure that it's as close to 100% as possible. Third person does the video editing, actually puts it all together, burns it all together, adds the headline, colors, logo, progress bar, call to action, whatever, the whole thing to make it look the part. And then the fourth person does the final review. Any changes are needed, they send it back to the team to fix up. Once it's all done, send it out to the client. And so all of that happens within 24 hours for our videos that are, they're normally about, less than 5 minutes long. So it's quite the process. It's been quite the process to set that up, to be able to do that with a human-based team or human-based solution. But yeah, it's working really well. I mean, that's cool. I think the cool thing about it is that human touch for us, that our clients really enjoy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you have any advice on, I guess, what types of videos make the best engagement or have the best engagement for your clients? Any tips, tricks on what types of content that is, or what types of videos that you would suggest people should be making?
Yeah, so I probably can't give you specifics here because we, 2 reasons. One, I can't share our specific stats from our clients. First of all, because we don't have them. We don't collect the stats from our clients. But also, even if we did, there'd be some privacy concerns there. But what I can tell you is what I've seen work really well. I've been doing this for about 14 years, so I've got a good feeling based on actual results for what works and what doesn't work. What does work is when you get a really deep understanding of who it is that you're creating your video content for. And then from that understanding what their issues and pain points and frustrations, desires, all those sort of things, like really getting an extremely good understanding of who it is that you're talking to, your avatar, right? And once you know what those things are that they're really interested in watching, you can create content that responds to that. And that is the kind of content that works really well. And I've seen this time and time again. A friend of mine just here on the Sunshine Coast in Australia, he's basically doing now what I was doing, almost a decade ago with teaching people how to use YouTube to grow their businesses. So he's been doing exactly that. He creates content that people actually want. So he understands the audience really well, and then he creates the content that they're searching for. Like, he already knows what they want, and then he creates content related to that. And he does the search engine optimization for it on YouTube, right? The keyword optimization. And he's been doing it actively now for about 2 or 3 years, and they went from, I don't know, a few hundred subscribers to now over 400,000 subscribers.
Wow.
And doing incredibly well. And I think this is one of many cases where, when you see people do that consistently, create consistent content consistently that really responds to people's needs and really understand their target audience, that's what makes the difference. That's like the underlying sort of assumption, that you have to create that kind of content that people actually want. But from there, then there are a lot of other things you could do. And this is actually where the captioning thing, there's a big aha moment for me. This is where it actually makes a big difference, in that quite often there's a lot of things you can do during the video editing or the post-production to help improve the engagement of your videos. Like, things like using things like jump cuts, for example, that resets the attention, so it gets people to watch longer. It's little sort of industry tricks.
And jump cuts. Explain what that is real quick.
Okay, so jump cuts is basically just where, there's different versions of it, but the one that's sort of used on YouTube quite a lot is where you basically just remove any dead spots or quiet spots within the video. Mm-hmm. So I've just had a spot there. So, you cut that bit out, and basically then it jumps to the next, to the next bit. So it has this sort of a jerky kind of a style to the videos. And YouTubers figured this out like right at the beginning, like they would have these jump cuts right throughout the videos, like every few seconds, right? And that didn't realize, but basically what it would do, it would reset the attention, because it's unnatural. It's like it breaks the natural flow, which then makes you pay attention, because we as human beings, and as animals in general, we notice movement, we notice sudden changes, and we can't help ourselves but to then engage and see, what is this thing? What is this thing that's moving that I should be watching? Maybe it can eat me. I better watch out. So just that movement there helps reset the attention, which then increases engagement. And it's a similar idea with adding B-rolls to your video, where a B-roll is basically where they've got A rolls and B rolls, like in the old days, where they, like for say documentaries use this all the time. The A roll might be where the person's talking, and the shot is on their face, and they're saying something, right? They're talking to the camera, and then while they're talking, they might switch over to what's called a B roll, which is some footage of the topic that he's talking about. So, I might be on a safari, or, I would be talking about my safari, and the video camera's on me. And then while I'm talking about this experience that we had with seeing some lions chasing some springbok in the veld, the shot might change to a lion chasing a springbok, while I'm still talking. So that's a B-roll. So all these sort of things can help, again, reset the attention and make your videos more engaging. But the trouble with that is that if you're doing it yourself, or even if you've got a team doing it, that can take a lot of time and effort, and with video content marketing, you don't want to spend like a month just to create one piece of content. Mm-hmm. So the question is, okay, well, how do you make it more engaging? And then I discovered, sort of stumbled upon the captioning thing, because when you add captions to your videos, by default, your video becomes more engaging, because you've got movement on the screen, so your eyes, people's eyes get attracted to the movement, and secondly, when people actually read the words on the screen, it engages them, it pulls them in. This is why books are so interesting. When you look, I didn't realize this as a kid, right? And this is why I never read as a kid, because I would look at books. Here's an example. This is let me just get oops. So here's I'm not sure if you guys listening probably can't see this, but here's a page, or you can imagine a page in a book. It's just basically black little characters on a white background. Now, just to the eye, if you're not reading it, that looks terribly boring. And it only becomes interesting once you start seeing the pictures behind the words, right? And I didn't realize this about reading until I was like 24. I couldn't read, basically. Like, I remember I was telling my little girl, she's 9 now, she's reading these thick books. She figured it out. But when I was that age, I had this assignment of we had to read a book of at least 100 pages. And I found a book that was 99 pages long. So I thought, okay, that's close enough. But we had a whole quarter of the year to read this book. And then we had to report back on it to our class, to our teacher. And I could not read this damn book. The night before, I was like so stressed. And like it was like 8 o'clock at night. And I went to my mom and I said, Mom, I have to report on this book tomorrow and I haven't read it. And she goes, why haven't you read it? You have the whole term. She said, well, I couldn't. And so she tried to sort of make me read it, and I just couldn't. Like, I just couldn't do it. And I basically failed that assignment really bad. It was so embarrassing. But it wasn't until I was like 23 or something, I got really sick. And I was in bed for like a week. And so I thought, it was like during my Master of Engineering degree. And I thought, hey, I still have to, there's a lot of reading we got to do. So I've got to find a way to read faster. So I read a book on speed reading. And one of the tips they gave was that, it's pictures. You have to visualize what you're reading, and that'll help you read faster and retain the information faster. And then all of a sudden it clicked for me. It's like, hey, actually it's pictures. These words are actually pictures. It took me that long to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just read. I wrote, and that following year, I read more books than I did my whole life, which is not many. But anyway, the point I'm making is that, when people are reading, it's not the text that they see. Sure, the movement there helps engage their eyes and draws them in, but it's, when they read the words, that creates a visual experience for them inside their heads. So the visual experience of your video becomes less important when you've got the visual experience of the words, which is, not many people realize this.
That's
So
incredible.
yeah, and so because of that, when you add the captions, you're actually creating a little movie inside people's heads when they read the words. So like there's the visual of the actual video, but then as they read it, it creates a movie inside their head, which adds a lot of richness to the video, which is really cool. And human beings have huge imaginations, right? So you just have to put the words in front of them. Like when I say the word pink elephant, you can't help yourself but sort of see that in your mind's eye, right? It's the same with captions. So it's really, really powerful, and it's so subtle, and it makes a really big difference.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. You mentioned before about, I believe it was one of your friends that uses keyword optimization for YouTube. Do you have
Right.
any tips or tricks or anything that you've learned along the way on how to optimize videos for YouTube that you could talk about?
Yeah, this is something we've been using. Actually, the first time I used it was for the keyword phrase, how to get more views on YouTube. So my little claim to fame back in the day was that my video ranked number one for that for about 3 years, for how to get more views on YouTube. And I got, over 1 million views for that particular video, which is great. And all I did there was I just optimized for those keywords. How to get more views on YouTube, or it was get more views on YouTube. That's what I optimized for. So it's actually really, really, the steps are actually quite simple, but it's quite laborious. The work is quite laborious, but when you do the work, there's this massive payoffs. But JB, my friend, so if you check out his channel, that's Primal Videos, his company's name. So and I recommend you go through his training, because he teaches you how to do this now properly. But basically, there's 2 or 3 steps. The first step is to go onto YouTube and look in the search bar for what people are searching for right now. And you can type in your base keyword. So say, for example, get more views. You can type that in and then see what other things YouTube recommends. And those are the things that people are actually searching for right now. So boom, YouTube gives you the answer that tells you what people are searching for. And there's a cool little extension that you can install on Chrome called, what's it called? Keyword. Let me just check it. Keywords Everywhere. It provides you with the actual search volume of those keywords as well. So not only can you see what people are searching for, you can then also see how many searches there are per month for that particular keyword phrase. So you can then go, okay, this one is getting more views than this one, so I'm going to target this one with the more views. So that's a huge tip. Once you found that main keyword phrase you want to rank for, you basically use that in a few places. You use it in your title right at the beginning. You use it at the beginning of your description. So you don't keyword stuff, but you use it in a paragraph, right? So you use that keyword phrase right at the beginning, and you use it as your first tag in your tags as well. And then you have other related tags to that as well that you also find using the same method, but they're related to that first keyword tag, keyword phrase. And then additionally, and this is like a magical tip that JB talks about, where you can also, at the beginning, in the first couple of sentences of your video, actually say that exact phrase as well. Because YouTube picks up on that. YouTube transcribes your video automatically, right? So then you're giving it all the signals it needs. It's in the title, it's in the description, it's in the tags, it's even inside the video. And then, that's pretty much all you need to do to optimize for that particular keyword. And there's other things you can do as well. Some people do naughty things like creating like sort of ton of backlinks to their videos. I don't recommend that, because I think if you get caught out, you can lose your channel, with things like that. So, but by all means, if you have a website or a blog already, embed your video on your blog, because that creates a backlink to your video, and it sends a positive signal to YouTube that that people are enjoying your video, right? But all of that stuff is meaningless if you're not creating good, valuable content. So you've got to create the content that is actually appealing to people to start off with. But yeah, those are little golden tips. But I do recommend you check out Justin's training on that as well. He's got a ton of stuff on his YouTube channel, and also a training course that you can pay money for.
Excellent. Yeah, we will. We'll put that in the show notes too. So no, I appreciate that. Gideon, this is fantastic. If people wanted to reach out to you or find out a little bit more about what you're up to, what would you say is the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, there's a couple of things. If people are interested in getting their videos captioned and getting more engagement and building the audience that way with the social media videos, we actually have a special offer at the moment where you can get your first 4 videos done for free. And so our team will actually do that for you, since we don't use automated software. So you can grab that at splasheo.com. That's SPLASHEO.com. So splasheo.com. And if you want to get in touch with me personally, you can reach me on LinkedIn. Just search for my name, Gideon Shalwick, on LinkedIn, and just say you've listened to this interview, and happy to connect with you and have a bit of a chat.
Love it. Love it. Perfect. I appreciate the time, Gideon. This is fantastic.
You're very welcome.